Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, everyone. This is me, Jonathan Alexander, and I'm here to host our show, Life, Laughter, Happiness. Today, I have my co-host, Barbara, here. Are you there, Barbara?
Yes, I am. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited for today.
Hey, now our guest today is Tina Bockrath, Miss 19, Playboy Playmate, Miss 1990, and also, I should also say...
Okay, hold on, Johnny. I know you... Johnny, stop. You get so nervous. I make him say the month and year of all the Playmates, and he gets a little messed up. It's Miss May 1990. Okay?
Miss May 1990.
Yeah, it's not Miss 1990 May.
And I have two former flight attendants on the show tonight, which is interesting. So, I think you and Barbara have worked together before, right?
Not on an airplane.
Not on an airplane. Can you imagine
we
were couples on an airplane?
That would be so funny. Oh, my gosh. Yes. We're so excited to continue our Playboy Playmate series with Tina. I love Tina. You are one of the nicest and most professional, straightforward, just talented, beautiful, wonderful ladies I know.
Well, thank you, Barbara, and I feel the same way about you. You are always, it was being a Playmate so special, but also you have special memories of the girls that were especially nice, that were always a joy to work with, kind of like you were always a ray of sunshine, always.
Really? Thank you.
Yes, you were.
And you're always
I
so
never remember
encouraging.
You never had anything bad to say about anybody. You were always fun to be with, and so those are special memories.
Oh, good. Well, thank you, and likewise as well. I want to start off with our first question that we start off with every Playmate, and here we go. Tina Bockrath, how did you become a Playboy Playmate?
Oh my gosh, this is so funny. So my mom and I was in college at the time, and I got up one morning for breakfast, and my mom said, she goes, I saw on the news last night that Playboy is in town looking for girls of the Southwest Conference. And I said, really? And she goes, yeah, but those girls were really pretty that they, were showing going in for the interviews. And I was like, what? Okay.
Like you are?
But this was just like morning conversation. It wasn't It wasn't like she ever thought that I would do anything like that. So I, of course, went and looked it up in the newspaper, and I saw where they were interviewing girls. But Playboy was also at the time, to be a part of the Southwest Conference, any of the college issues, Playboy, you had to belong to that school. And I had to actually go, because I was going to a private Catholic college at the time, and you had to actually go. I had to go and enroll in classes at the University of Texas in order to be considered. So anyway, I went.
They really
was the first thing I went for.
Wow. They wanted it authentic, which is good to know. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
You have to really be a part of that. So I went to see Playboy, and at the time you could choose, to be interviewed, they had to take some Polaroids, and you could choose whether you wanted to be nude or semi-nude. And I put semi-nude because, needless to say, I'd never been naked in front of strangers, and that was a pretty scary thought. So I put semi-nude. And anyway, I ended up shooting for it. And the photographer at the time, David Chan, who shot a lot of their special editions, was working as a photographer out of Chicago. He came to Texas to shoot me, and he said, he goes, I think that you're Playmate material. He goes, I can't promise you anything, but I will tell them about you in Chicago. So I ended up being in the October 1988 issue for Girls of the Southwest Conference, and then they had me go to Chicago for the 35th anniversary search. So they called me and they said, well, we have good news and bad news. You didn't get 35th anniversary Playmate, but you will be a Playmate in 89. So I ended up in an issue. I ended up as a runner-up in the 35th anniversary issue, and then my Playmate date got pushed to May of 1990. So there was a whole little process leading up to it.
Right, with work, which was good. So were you published as a competitor for the 35th in Playboy? Were you published for that too?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool to know. Yeah. So what issues were these? Because I like to always look them up.
Oh, well, it was October 1988. The Girls of the South. What's funny is the Girls of the Southwest Conference issue that I was in had featured Terry Lynn Doss on the cover, in her cowboy boots and cute little outfit. And then I was in the 35th anniversary search, which was January 1989, I think. And then and it was funny because when that issue came out for the runner-up, my mom said, "What are you wearing in the picture?" And I said, "A necklace."
I love that. Right. That's so funny, but it's so then your mom was encouraging.
Yeah, well, you know what? I don't know that she was encouraging. She didn't think I would actually do anything. And then when it first came out, I don't know how she was kind of stunned. And then she was happy when it turned out to be a good thing, when I was working. Right. It was, it was a positive thing. So then I was in the feature. Of course, I was a Playmate in May 1990. So those were the three
Were
issues.
you glad
there were others? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, many others, I'm sure, and much more to come after that. You were a working Playmate, a big working Playmate, major things that you did for Playboy, but we're going to get to some of those things. But I wanted to ask you, so what about Pompeo Posar, the photographer? I read that you were the very last Playmate that he shot. I never actually met him, but I hear a lot about him. What was he like, and what did you think about that?
He was, what was really cool was he was an older gentleman, which, first of all, I just want to say any of the photographers with Playboy I ever worked with were always nothing but nice and professional. And Pompeo, though, was an older gentleman. He had been around for a long time with Playboy. And so he was, what was he? I can't remember. I think he was Italian, maybe. So he had this accent, and darling, give me something. Give me a little smile.
Right.
Give me, turn this way or that way. And he was almost like a fatherly kind of man, and so that also made it much easier for me to get comfortable in front of the camera. Yeah, he was just a really, really wonderful guy.
I love his lighting. I'm looking at your centerfold right now in my beautiful The Complete Centerfolds book, which I love. This is my coffee table book, and I'm looking at it, and wow, his lighting was really beautiful. It was like he had some light coming through a window on.
He was really great.
It was amazing.
The one thing was that unfortunately some of the shots that he shot, Hef didn't like. So when I did most of my test shooting with Pompeo, and then it got sent to Los Angeles, and Hef was like, "No," I had already been accepted as a Playmate, but he was like, "I don't like this." He goes, "Let's do something else with her." And so I had gone to Chicago, and then I came to LA, and that's when I stayed up at the mansion. Started staying at the mansion was to reshoot the layout. So they did use the centerfold, but they ended up using some other photos from. I'm trying to think of who else shot that layout.
Was
it Arnie.
Steve Wada or Arnie?
It was Arnie, and I remember because when I first came to LA to shoot, Arnie was shooting me, and at the same time they were shooting the Sexy Lingerie 2 video, and they needed somebody to be on the cover of the box. And Arnie said, "Well, let's just shoot Tina," because I was the one in his mind, because he was already shooting me. And I was new out here, Barbara. I had never done any of this. And the next thing I know, I'm shooting my layout, and then I'm shooting this video cover. And, since you're on the video cover, then you have to be in the video. So the next thing I know, I'm doing this video. And, it's just kind of like a whirlwind, if you will.
It happened so fast, but I'm so glad to hear that you were able to go to Beverly Hills, Holmby Hills, and stay at the Playboy Mansion and get that experience, because a lot of people who shoot at the Chicago studios or don't live near LA don't ever get to stay there at all.
And you know what? And and we'll talk about this in a little while, but as you know, I've got even more work through Playboy, so I was staying up there a lot. And so, yeah, you're right. It is such an experience, and especially now that the mansion has been sold, I am so, so grateful for those memories and for those times.
Me too. I saw that they're redoing it. I saw the blueprints and everything. It was on a social media site, and it like a tear came to my eye because it's really just an end of an era.
It is. And I even went last year when they were auctioning off a lot of the mansion, the paintings that were in there, the dining room table and chairs that we all sat at and ate our lunches and breakfast. And it made me just like you. It just made me tear up. It's just a time that's gone. So we are so
really
fortunate to have had that.
We really are. We're so fortunate. So were you shocked at yourself, too? Your mom just casually mentioning this to you at the breakfast table. Had you ever thought about posing for Playboy before that?
It's so funny. Actually, yes. I think because, I grew up in Ohio. So I grew up in Dayton, Ohio, actually a suburb of Dayton, Huber Heights. And to grow up in a suburb like that, I always dreamed of a bigger and better life. And so I would always read all these magazines, back in the day, all the National Enquirer and all these different magazines. And so many times I would see whatever rock star or actor dating some Playboy Playmate. And I thought, my God, those girls are so beautiful. And it seemed like such a glamorous life. And I thought, man, I would do anything to do that. And never thought, I never thought about sending in photos. So many of the girls, they submit photographs, and many times girls get turned down. There are girls that I'm sure you knew too that they submitted photographs maybe 3, 4, 5, and 6 times before they ever got accepted. And so that never occurred to me, and I don't know that it ever would had Playboy have not come looking for college girls. You know what I mean? I don't know that I would have known to go the other avenue. So I absolutely.
That's a really great thing. That's awesome because that's a great thing to open up more eyes to what Playboy's doing. They're so very smart with the things that they did, these events where they travel around the country. They found a lot of great Playmates like that. I think Nariah Davis was one of them as well. That's how it was like some competition contest. They were looking for the 40th or something just like you, and they found her for that. But you guys get a lot of work before your layout comes out because of that too, which is amazing because it's all money. It's like we don't do this for free, everybody. They're paying a lot of money for every day that we work. So tell us about what happened when you were spotted. You were seen as somebody who could actually be a host type person because you did a lot for Playboy. Let me see. I read you did Playboy's news front for 5 years. Midnight Summer Dream you hosted. Playboy's online lingerie show you hosted. And that's more than a lot of Playmates. A lot of Playmates never get asked to host any of those things. So how did that all come about for you?
Well, it was funny after I became a Playmate, right, not too soon after. Playboy back in the day, I'm sure a lot of people remember back in the 70s and 80s. Playboy, a lot of what they did was basically softcore porn content on the channel. So at the time that I came in to be a Playmate, they were reforming the channel. They didn't want that anymore. They wanted to do, there was a show called Hot Rocks, which was kind of like an MTV-ish kind of thing where they had somebody hosting music videos or music content. And then they were doing a show called Newsfront, and they wanted it to be an extension of the magazine. So, who the current interview was with in the magazine. They wanted the host to go to Vegas to talk about men's fashion. So it wasn't anything new. It was, business suits. And so anyway, they wanted to audition to find a Playmate to host it. And they called me and said they're having these auditions. Will you go? And I think it was one of the first auditions that I ever went on in Los Angeles, period. And I went, and they had all these Playmates reading, and I read. And they called me the next day and said, you got the job. And I said, huh? Are you sure? And they're like, no,
Well,
you got the job. So
I want to say
that was
something.
it.
It was just something.
Wow.
It's sort of funny. This is one of the things I noticed about you when you just called in. A lot of the Playmates that we've had, there have been a few, Barbara's included in this, that I've talked to on the show that have had these really nice voices. That it's sort of like that. They're not just beautiful, but they're good talkers. And I would say like Barbara Moore, Terry Lynn Doss, and Christine Richters are three Playmates that we've had on that have these like incredible voices. And yours is great too. I mean, it seems like you get a lot of confidence from your voice.
I do, and my voice. It's funny though. I feel like my voice is. I get a little older. It gets a little deeper or raspier. But yeah, it's the voice. But it was also too when I read off the teleprompter. So they said hi. It said hi, and then in parentheses your name. Most of the girls said, hi, your name. I was one of the
You're
few that
kidding.
knew how to put. No, I was one of the few that would say, hi, I'm Tina Bockrath. And so that's one of the reasons I got the job, apparently. So,
that's hilarious, Tina. Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to single out a lot of people. Like, nope, pass. If you can't even figure out, like, that's pretty self-explanatory right there.
Well, evidently, I never had a problem reading off of a teleprompter, but evidently some people do. It's not, I guess, as easy as some people think that it is.
Well, I think
would you agree, Barbara?
Yeah, I think what it is is that this is what I think happens is a lot of people don't realize just how nervous you can get. Like there was many years ago, there was I think it was a lady. She was in a pageant, and it had something to do with, like identifying a certain place on a map or something. And she said, well, most of the people in this particular country don't have maps, and she really froze.
True.
And then
true.
Obviously they interviewed her later, and they said, "Look, you just froze." And I said, "Yeah, I froze. I mean, it was one of those times.
Right.
I mean, it's so yes, it makes sense that people would say, hello, my name is your name. Hello,
Right. Well,
Yeah.
Also, though, in all fairness, I was also a theater major, so I have my degree. My undergrad degree in theater, so I was used to being up in front of people. Now, there are a lot of Playmates, as you know, Barbara. We come from small towns. We are not used to speaking. Public speaking is always like they say the scariest thing for a lot of people. It's not easy for everybody to be able to get up in front of a camera. So at least I did have that background, and that helped.
Oh, yes, and I'm sure that they interviewed you a little bit and found out that you had some background with it. And you know what? They're hiring somebody. They don't want to have a long, hard day to try to pull it out of somebody who can't really do it naturally. So fine. That's great that they are new and, they're not experienced because you got it. You got it because you could handle it, and you were good at it, and I am not surprised at all. I'm surprised that you were surprised that you got it, though.
Right. Well, I was, and and also, Barbara, along with what you just said, they also, once I was in doing the news show, then they needed for all the different cable stations, they needed to promote Playboy, so they were going to have a different Playmate come in every time to do that. It was just like a 30-second short. For, hi, my name is such and such, and this is cable, da-da-da-da. I watch Playboy TV, and the girls were taking hours to do what I could do in 15 minutes, and time is money, as you know.
Yes.
So when you are renting a studio, they're like, okay, we don't give a crap who does this. We just need somebody to do it and do it fast, and if Tina can just hurry up and do it fast and save the money, great. So that was the
That is true. Was that called the wraparound? There was something I did called wraparound, but I came at the end of '92, and we just did our own little segment a little bit. That maybe they weren't for a long time having each do their own like wraparound. I don't know what wraparound meant, though. Do you?
Well, that could have been part of it because they wanted each girl to definitely be able to promote. You have that 30-day period that you're in the magazine, you're kind of the face of the magazine, and they wanted to utilize that as much as possible. unless it was going to cost them too much.
That's right, true. Were any playmates ever jealous? Were they ever saying, to the director, hey, why does she get all the work? What about me?
I don't know. I mean, not to my knowledge. I don't think so, because I think at the time that we were in the magazine, there was enough work to go around. I think that people don't realize, like back in our day, there were so many car shows going on. I remember we used to go for a car show at Thanksgiving in Houston, Texas, for like 3 or 4 days. And back then even it was $500 a day. It was more than that as the years went by. But all these things that companies don't do anymore because the money just isn't there. So there was enough work to go around for everybody. But there were times, let's face it, there were always times where anytime you have a bunch of pretty girls together, they do get kind of catty and, why is this person working all the time and I'm not, or how did she get that job? And so, yeah, I guess there is a little bit of that. If it happened to me, I don't know. I prefer to think
right. Right. But didn't all that experience really help you for other things that were not related to Playboy when you went out on auditions?
Oh, you know what? I think that you have to have a thick skin. And, yes, it does. It definitely helps a lot. Even in college, whether, you didn't get into a play or not, we also are from a day where not everybody got a trophy, so to speak. When we were in school, not everybody made cheerleading. Not everybody made band. Not everybody made flag corps. Today, everybody gets a trophy, and so that really, I think, sets you up a lot of times for failure and disappointment.
I think so, too. I think you have to learn some time in life growing up a little bit of the hard. You have to learn how to adapt to that. Yeah,
right.
I agree. Okay, Tina, you were saying that you were staying at the mansion so much during filming because of all of these hosting jobs with Playboy, and I wanted to ask, what stands out there? Did you meet anybody special? Hint, hint.
Well, yes, I did. So I remember the very first time I ever went to the mansion, which I'm sure you remember, Barbara. I mean, there cannot be a Playmate who cannot remember the first time she ever went to the Playboy Mansion. When those gates opened and you saw the moss on that beautiful wall, the figures on the cement wall, and the Playmates at play sign, and the lights are twinkling. I mean, it was just, oh my God, because they had the outdoor lights. It was so beautiful.
That's
so
pretty.
I get up there, I get my bags in my room, I go up to the kitchen, and the first thing I run into Hef, I was just like, oh my God, I was just kind of starstruck. He was so sweet.
But it's not like a meeting. It's not like a meeting. He's just walking around his house. It's so interesting.
It's dinner time.
Yeah. It's not like an official meeting. Maybe everybody thinks that's how it is, but it's not. It wasn't for me either.
No, he's at home in his pajamas. You're not going into an office and meeting him for this. No. So he's like, somebody will give you a tour around the grounds. So this really good-looking butler with his long hair and blue eyes comes up and says, would you like me to show you around the grounds? And I'm like, sure. So he kept showing me around the grounds, and the next thing I know, we're dating. And Jeff and I started dating, which, by the way, was a major, major, major no-no. We snuck around for the longest time because if you'll remember, we were not supposed to date the butlers or any of the staff. You could get into big trouble.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So
I forgot. I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
Okay. And you were sneaking around?
We had to sneak around.
Wow.
We actually started living together, and so I would have to wait down the street to pick him up. So the security cameras wouldn't catch my car on camera when I would pick him up from work. So anyway, and then Hef, of course, was with Kimberly. And when he was married to Kimberly Conrad at the time, who people probably know was a Playmate of the Year. And Kimberly really liked me, and she really liked Jeff. So then it became okay, and he and I ended up married. So we were together 6 years, and we were married for 3 of those years. And although things did not work out, he was really a wonderful person, and so I have very fond memories of that time as well.
That's wonderful. I think I know him. I think I remember him. And
I know.
Wow, that's a cute story. Yeah,
Yeah,
I do. Yeah, the long hair. How wonderful. And he was tall, right?
He was tall, thin, and he
Yeah.
had these really amazing blue eyes. I swear to God, if you look back at pictures, if you can remember him at all, Brad Pitt in Legends of the Fall and Death. I mean, like,
oh my gosh,
it's crazy how much they look alike.
No wonder you really liked him. No wonder. Wow. But I'm glad that you guys are still friends. I'm glad you're still friends, and it worked out great. And that was one of the perks to have Kimberly there at that time. A lot of times people thought, oh, no, I missed all the fun because now he's married. And instead of Playmates at Play, it says, you know, I think children. They changed the Playmates at Play sign for a while.
Yeah,
they did.
They did.
But then
changed dramatically.
But then we got it. It changed. And then it changed back, I think, to probably even more wild.
It was, oh my God, yes. Because I remember when it changed back and seeing George Clooney and Jim Carrey and Jack Nicholson, and I could go on and on. Leonardo DiCaprio. I remember seeing all those people up there.
Me too. Wow. Were you really happy with your centerfold? It's beautiful. You have very long curly hair. I want to ask you, are you happy with it? And is your hair naturally curly?
You know what? No, girl. My hair is so straight. And you know what happened? If anybody remembers, the month before me, Miss April, was Lisa Matthews, who became Playmate of the Year. And Lisa had long, straight hair. They thought we looked too much alike, so I had to get I got the curly hair. They curled my hair all the time, and oh my gosh, it like wrecked my hair. I had to have like 3 or 4 inches of my hair cut off after that. But
I can imagine.
I was happy with the centerfolds, but to be honest with you, some of the test photos they did of me, I thought were so much. I thought they were so much better than that. But I think also we're our own worst critic, quite frankly.
Yes.
I mean, I know that I just, you know, we're always. I think I looked more myself with the straighter hair. But
right.
But hey.
Yeah, I want to make a comment on something because I want to make a comment. It's funny. I think a lot of people, I've talked to a lot of people, and they don't get it in the sense that there's a sisterhood with Playmates, and like for instance, you know, like when you know, whenever I realized this, that when you're nice to one Playmate, you're nice to all of them. And if you say something off color or wrong to one, then you're saying it to all of them. So I'm real careful with what I say to the Barbara's friends or Playmates because of the sisterhood. It seems like it's almost, I know it may be a strange choice of words, but I think you get the point, you know.
Right. Yes,
it's
it
different.
is. It's true. It is a sisterhood. And not only that, though, I mean, to be honest, not all of my memories of all the girls are great. However, like I always say, being a Playmate is a lot kind of, and I don't know about you, Barbara, but to me it's a lot like being in high school. And some of you are really great and you're going to get along, and some other ones not so much. But I personally found that most of the girls are really wonderful people. And the few bad apples really are so few that it just doesn't, it never clouded my feelings for the other girls. I didn't have a bad experience. I can't complain.
Yes, that's good. Because we all have our own month, we all have our own year, and that's ours. So it's not like we have to compete with them for really anything except for the outside jobs and things like that. One Playmate of the Year was upset because I was getting so many trips, you know, abroad, and I was doing that for Playboy Home Video a lot, and they were wondering, well, why aren't I doing them all? I'm Playmate of the Year. So I got that a little bit, but when she complained, she started getting more trips, so that was good. They took care of that, but that's it. And later on down the road, I mean, we've been Playmates for how long now? Like me 27 years. You
for me it's
2
30
years
more.
more.
It just turned 30 years in May. Yeah.
It's like your anniversary, 30-year anniversary, and you still look phenomenal. Yes.
Thank you. So do you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But too,
well,
I don't know if you are. Oh, go ahead.
No, that's it. That's all I wanted to say.
I was just going to say it's just so hard for. I just think I feel like, and I don't know if you having felt this way. If you when you have been a playmate, you kind of, there is a little bit of a thing I think to make to continue to look good. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I feel a little like under. I don't want to say like I'm being scrutinized, but there is that part of me that I have had that past, and so I still try to keep myself in shape, if you will.
Yes, because if it ever comes up and somebody says, and she says, Playboy Playmate, and they look at you, really? You want to kind of still look like, you want to still look believable. And
right,
you
still want people to go,
in shape.
I can see where you used to model, instead of going, really? Okay, I don't see that.
Yeah, that is funny. We got to keep the standards up. I mean, we do. Right. So that's cool. But you were talking about your mom. She was okay with it. And after she saw, it's like a family atmosphere. It's better to work in LA and have Playboy behind you than not. So she saw that, and she was comfortable. What about any other family members?
It's well, my sister was really great with it. She actually was in a newsstand special. I can't remember which one. She's never a playmate, but she did do a newsstand special, and she was really good with it. What's funny is my dad's family, apparently the old house that we used to live in Huber Heights, my sister once went back to visit, that we grew up in, and they had said how all these people used to drive up and down in front of the house, and they used to call there and ask, like, if this was the Bockrath family, or my dad said with all the phone calls they used to get. It was really kind of funny.
Wow. That is people really funny.
Especially from Huber Heights, Ohio. It's not like people become playmates all the time.
No,
you know what I mean?
I've been to Dayton, Ohio.
Not like nothing happens much in Huber Heights.
No, you become a big celebrity in your small town. But Dayton, Ohio was one of my stops. When I was a flight attendant based in Nashville, Tennessee, I would go to Dayton, Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, and like Paducah, Kentucky, around there. You said you were a flight attendant. I was 18, so I could fly for the I was American Eagle, so I wasn't.
Okay.
They don't call major airline. Yes, and I had to be 20 or 21, I think it was, at that time to work for the major airline. So I had my own airplane, which was totally cool. But I think you were flying for like a major airline as a flight attendant, weren't you?
Yes, I flew for Pan Am, and at that time, I was just, oh God, it was so funny. It was right at the end of college. And you did have to speak a second language, which mine was Spanish, and so you had to have a second language. But it was also right when Playboy was happening. So I was in New York. I had just finished flight school. They put us in New York. I had to fly out of JFK, and then my Playboy issue, the Girls of the Southwest Conference, had also just come out. And I just was like, you know what? I can't deal with all of this. So the living in New York was just not for me. I thought that I was going to be able to choose where I wanted to live, what face I wanted, and that's bull. They put you where they want you. And so I just said, forget it. And I did it for a couple of months. I flew like Paris. I had Paris-Frankfurt flights. Frankfurt, Germany.
Wow!
And I did it for a couple of months, and I was like, you know what? I'm a glorified waitress in the sky. I'm not digging this. Went back to Texas. I had one class left of college, finished it, and then Playboy happened, and it all just kind of happened at one time, if you will. Yeah.
Yes, and I totally understand that. A lot of people think, wow, what a great career, and it is, but we were not just the average woman. We were Playboy Playmates, and there was a huge career waiting for us in the entertainment business. But for a lot of people, that would have been a great career. But it was cool that we both did it, but it just wasn't forever.
You know what?
It wasn't forever.
I tell people, I am very, very, very grateful in my life. I wanted to be a Playmate, and I was able to do it. I wanted to be a flight attendant, and I was able to do it. And I say, go for your dreams, do what you want to do. And even if it doesn't turn out the way you think it's going to, hey, at least when you're on your deathbed, you never will wonder, shoulda, woulda, coulda. You did it. You knew what it was all about, and you have no regrets.
I always ask the Playmates on these interviews if they would have done anything different, but after hearing that, I don't think you would have.
No, I would not have at all, and I am grateful every day for the opportunities that I have had in my life and that I've been given.
I have a question. I'm always curious when I ask the Playmate this. Have you ever looked at a Playboy Playmate and then thought, oh my God? She's so gorgeous. The reason I ask that question is that, if you're a Playboy Playmate, you're around other Playboy Playmates, you're around gorgeous women all the time. So, have you ever looked at another Playmate and just been in awe about how she looked, or is there more than one?
Gosh, you guys, it's so funny because here lately I feel like I've gotten a whole other appreciation for Playmates because on Instagram, I started following this guy recently that I think he goes by his title on there, whatever, is Obsessed with Playmates.
Yep,
and he posts these wonderful, wonderful photos of some of these Playmates that I never knew existed. Because there's 12 a year, and some stick out. Some are more famous, if you will, or stick out more than others. But lately, some of the pictures that he's been posting from 50s, 60s, 70s, these girls are almost like ethereal looking. They're so stunning. The way they were shot, the photography, they truly were the girls next door. The whole composition of the photo. But I look at some of these women and think, oh my God, how did I not know about her? And so there's just really some fantastic looking ladies, but I was always, of course, enthralled with Dorothy Stratton, partly probably because of her tragic life, but she was one that you just look at her photos and it's like almost like there's a halo over her or something. She was just so beautiful.
I watched the special on her recently as well. There is a wonderful show on Amazon Prime called American Playboy, and I found it to be so entertaining. It's an actor playing Hef with clips of the actual footage to go throughout it, inserted. It is amazing.
Have to check that out.
Yes,
cool.
You will love
Thank
it.
you. I will definitely have to look at that.
Yes, they go over the 50s. So much I didn't know in the 50s. And he was married to Millie, and then the 60s, and then the 70s, and the 80s. They went over Dorothy Stratton so much in the 80s, and it just goes through every era like that. So interesting. Well done. It's very much done like Mad Men, the style of that.
Oh, cool. Oh, I love that. I love that genre. Yeah.
You will love that. But I think we have so many things in common. We have a lot in common. It's so strange with the flight attendant thing. And then it's so weird. Just 2 days ago, there's so many people on Instagram. I followed that guy 2 days ago as well. I remember. I'm like, I even wrote to him.
I get a lot of
guests. I haven't been
getting
following you.
Guests from that guy. I've been getting a lot of guests from that guy. As soon as, because I follow him, and then he'll post up this Playmate with so and so and so and so. Then she'll post the Instagram link, and I believe that's how I found you, Tina. I'm not making this up.
That could be. You had contacted me through Instagram. Yeah.
What happened was that because I'm curious, because I know I've often run into this question with Playmates. I do know this though, that if you ask a bunch of basketball players like what it's like to watch Michael Jordan play, they'll tell you it's like, oh God. They just he sees him do things. He sees him do things that nobody can do. And so I was just curious, is there a Playmate that you look at and you think, what? That's really must be very hard to do, considering that you're already considered to be very, very gorgeous. And then, here you are, make other women, who are considered to be very, very gorgeous, look at you kind of like, almost like a hypnotized stance.
It's funny one of the first mansion parties I went to, and I got to meet Monique St. Pierre, and Monique was Playmate of the Year. I think it was 1979, and I remember meeting her. I was so enthralled with her because on the cover of her issue, she was wearing a gorgeous Bob Mackie beaded gown. And if anybody remembers Bob Mackie was a very famous designer. He used to do all of Cher's clothes for the Sonny and Cher show. I mean, he was the guy. And I was like, oh, my God, aren't you Monique St. Pierre? And she's like, yeah. And I said, your cover in that Bob Mackie gown. She goes, oh, honey, I still have a gown. I'm like, you do? And
wow.
She was such a lovely lady. Yeah, she was really cool.
Oh, she is.
I remember just being so, she was a doll.
And still so much around. I saw her on Valentine's Day, and she said she's going to do this interview as well. And that is always so fun to hear stories from each different era.
Fascinating interview for you guys. Yeah, you guys
will be.
Talking about who's going to be in who's
Monique St. Pierre.
Oh, okay.
She'll tell us everything about the 70s. We don't.
She's agreed to come on?
Yes. I saw her at Devin Vasquez was so cute. She said, now that we don't have the Playboy Mansion for the parties anymore, I'm going to throw a party. And we never really had one up there for Valentine's Day, like an official one. And that's true, but it was so weird. That's when I took my mom up to the mansion in 1993, Valentine's Day, and she met Hef. We were wearing red and everything. We have pictures, and it was wonderful. But come to think of it, there was no big, huge Valentine's Day thing. Anyway, she decided she was going to have one.
That's
but only 5. Yeah, it's so sweet that she decided. That's true. And so she decided to do that, but only 5 Playmates made it there. But you got to start somewhere, right?
Heck yeah. I mean, you know what? And I thought that so many times when I was going through my things one day and I found, one of the Playmate reunions at the mansion. And I thought, man, somebody needs to do that. Like, one of us needs to start that again or something. Even if there was only 20 or 30 of us, it's better than nothing.
I know, because that was one place. We could see everybody at the Playmate of the Year luncheon. We could see all of our Playmate girlfriends in one place, and that was always special. So it was.
Well, maybe that needs to be a goal, Barbara.
Okay. Yeah.
That should be a goal after we're not in a pandemic anymore.
That's true. The pandemic is just too bad. I mean, can you imagine being the Playmate now, and then you can't even take advantage of flying around and doing all your promotional work for your month?
Right. Yep.
What a bummer that would be. Okay, well, let's get further through. Let's get to what you did, let's say 5-10 years after Playboy. You probably were still working with them, but you had your own career ideas. Like, didn't you have other things you wanted to do besides entertainment, or were you still trying to act and model?
You know what? I did for a short while. To be honest, I got really burned out after a while. I think that trying to audition, trying to have different managers and agents and trying to keep on these people, and as we all know now with the Me Too movement, it just got tiresome. Constantly being hit on, trying to have an agent or a manager to only go out to lunch, and if you didn't want somebody to be your boyfriend, then they didn't send you out anymore. And I just got really tired of it. So I had ended up selling memberships at a gym for a really long time, which you probably remember, Barbara, because it was a gym.
I forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot about that, Tina.
Yeah,
I love that. I went in there. You were so professional with your business suit, and I'm like, wow, look at her. You look like an executive walking around there, and I'm sure you sold a lot, but that was amazing, that Sports Club LA. We got free memberships for years, the Playmate.
You know what? And I got free membership there up until up until they weren't there anymore, up until my husband and what happened was I ended up working there, and then I ended up working at a couple of other spas around town. But then I met my second husband, and
I was going to ask you that.
Married, yes.
Okay,
so
but let me
interject
something here.
Okay.
Let me interject something here. This guy is like a dream man. Dream man. I mean, I met him. I think we were just walking along the Beverly Hills street. I ran into you guys, and you're like, this is my new husband. And what an amazing guy. And I just found out today, well, you may have told me a long time ago, but he is a Emmy Award-winning composer, Velton Ray Bunch. Wow.
Yes.
How did you meet him?
Oh, my God. This is freaking hilarious. So I have been going to the same dentist for like 25 years. And so every time I would go in to get my teeth cleaned, the dental hygienist would always tell me that I look like I reminded her of a friend of hers who's an actress. So I just always assumed that if her friend was an actress that she was attractive, and I would just always say, well, thank you. So one day, my dental hygienist calls me, and I'm like, wonder why she's calling me because I don't have an appointment. She calls me. She goes, are you dating anybody? Because I have this friend that I think that you might hit it off with. And I was like, oh, boy, okay. I said, well, what does he do for a living? She goes, well, he's in entertainment. And I thought, oh, God, that has never worked out well for me. Anybody in the entertainment industry was always like, yikes. So, but I said, well, I kind of went with the birds of a feather theory that she was really nice and normal, so maybe he would be too. So we were fixed up on a blind date because of my dental hygienist. And
wow.
So long story short, we've been married now for 13 years and together for 15.
Wow. And you guys make such the greatest couple and are always like a ray of light. And I think I've run into you guys a couple times, and you were always just coming from the travel agent, and you were traveling somewhere very exotic, by the way.
Yes,
and I want you to tell us. Yes. I want to ask you, though, was he the one who took you to Egypt, which you, by the way, wrote on your Playmate data sheet that you had a dream of going to Egypt, and then you made it happen. Did you go with him?
Yes, girl, you are so good. Yes, we did. He actually, that was, my dream was to always go to Egypt. I've always been just obsessed with seeing the pyramids and with, any kind of Egyptian history. So, yes, that was on my data sheet. So he and I were okay. I'm trying to think. Oh, we weren't married for long. We were married for maybe a couple months. He bought me that trip for my 40th birthday. And yes,
wow.
So we got to go to Egypt, and I got to see all the things I dreamed about. I got to visit. I got to see. So, yeah.
That's amazing. And so you guys are on the same wavelength. You want to do the same things and for union. Do you have kids or stepkids?
I was one of those folks that I just never wanted children, so I never had any. But my husband is older than myself. He's almost 20 years older than me. So he's got two kids, a son and a daughter who are not that much younger than me. And so we just had our second grandchild this last Saturday. So I get all the benefits of having children and grandchildren, sort of, but without having them.
I kind of had a feeling that you had some stepkids, and yes, you got a little bit of a taste of it and didn't have to do all of the diapers
and
hard
all work.
That hard,
yeah, I just
hard
get
work.
to enjoy all the family part of it.
Oh, that's so wonderful, and congratulations with the new grandbaby.
Because
they're not going to say, "Oh, you're my step grandma." You're the grandma.
I'm grandma. Yeah, our 4-year-old grandson calls me TT. I'm Grandma TT.
Oh, that's so cute. Can you believe that? I thought about that the other day. My daughter's 13. I'm going to be a grandma. I could be a grandma. I told her, you know what? I could be a grandma in 5 years. Depends on how early you start. That's so weird to call yourself a grandma. How do you feel about it?
Tell me about it. It is weird, and especially because grandmas today are not like grandmas when we were kids. Like, we're different grandmas.
Exactly. We really are. That's awesome. Well, there was one other thing, and we got ahead of this thing I was going to say that we had in common. I read, there's so much on your Wikipedia, by the way, that is like interesting facts. But you played an animated Barbie at an event or many events. I'm not sure, but I did that too for Mattel.
Oh, did you? So that was another super cool thing. Really quickly, when I first came out here, this was the biggest thing ever. They sent me on an audition for Mattel Toys to be a co-host to an animated Barbie. But I ended up getting the job, and it was with Alan Hunter. If you remember, Alan Hunter was one of the original VJs from MTV. It was Martha Quinn and Alan Hunter and one other one.
I do.
So it was me and Alan Hunter as co-hosts to this animated Barbie for the Mattel Toy Fair in New York.
Wow.
What does an animated Barbie mean?
Well, there was an animated Barbie, like a cartoon Barbie. And so they would have her speak, and she was talking about the newest Barbie for the Toy Fair, and so they would play this video at the Toy Fair in New York.
And you would talk to her.
So you were a co-host.
We were co-hosts.
Interacting with her? That's cool.
Yes. So you know how you do it on a green screen or a blue screen, and they incorporate it later. That's what Alan and I did, and then they incorporated the animated Barbie later, and it was a video that looped for Mattel Toys up there. And at first, they were kind of afraid to give it to me because I had been a Playmate and being affiliated with Playboy, Mattel Toys. Was that going to be some kind of conflict of interest? And but it was okay, and I ended up getting the job, and it was all went swimmingly. But I was
that's so
thrilled
good.
Alan Hunter. I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Because Playboy did not hurt you for that job or any other job, right?
Yeah,
or do you not know?
I don't believe so. I don't think so. I mean, I know that some girls, that was still kind of a pivotal time where Playboy was kind of iffy. It could kind of go either way. You know what I mean?
Right.
I remember like Julie McCullough, who was a Playmate, having been on, was it Growing Pains? That was an issue for her.
Did they get rid of her for that? Did they get rid of her for that?
I think
I don't know. Maybe it's the wrong show. I didn't watch it, but it's something like that.
Yes,
it was a very big show. It was I can't even believe that they hired her without even knowing in the first place.
Yes, it was with Alan Thicke.
Alan Thicke and Alan Thicke was up at the Playboy Mansion all the time.
Alan Thicke was, I believe, the one that had the problem.
And he was always out there. That is so weird. Now that's weird.
So it was religion, but I know that for some of the Playmates, it could be a little bit of an obstacle. Of course, certainly today times have changed, and Playboy's like nothing in the scheme of what people are doing nowadays. But Ashley can have a porn video, and but in our day it was still kind of iffy. Yeah.
For the 60th, the in-house Playboy Playmate Promotions director, when I was getting fitted for my bunny costume for the 60th anniversary, which was not that long ago, they still would not hire anybody who had done porn or talked about anything too racy. They would not. They were very strict about that. And Pat was trying to find 60 Playmates who still look good in that bunny costume, and she was having a hard time. She's like, look through the list, Barbara. Tell me if you see anybody I'm missing. And I said a couple of people. She's like, oh, no. They mentioned they've done porn, and they mentioned that they were something that we're not agreeing with. Two different Playmates. So they were still strict.
Yeah, you know what? It gets to a point where when you're trying to find 60 girls that still look good luck with that. Yeah, that's going to be hard. That's going to be a tall order to fill.
You are so funny. Good luck with that. That is true. That's funny. Oh my gosh. So that's wonderful. So when you met your husband, you were able to just take a big breath and say, let's travel. I mean, how wonderful. That's like every woman's dream. What a wonderful man. And I can't even believe he's 20 years older than you. He did not look it at all. Wow.
Oh no, he's kept in great shape himself, and he also is the one that pushed me to go back to school. So I went back to school for archeology, and went and did a few field schools overseas, up in Europe, and so I've got about 40 units towards a master's, and I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but we'll figure that out. And hence again, my going back to always go for your dreams, always do something that you are interested in, because you just never know. And I was one of those.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not smart enough to do this. He's like, yes, you are. And so that's really nice to have a partner that pushes you to do things that you're interested in and believes in you.
It's very nice, because that's all we need sometimes when we're feeling overwhelmed and there's somebody there that's saying, no, you can do it. It's not that bad.
Right.
Oh, I'll help you. You know, I mean, wow, that's what I don't even have that right now. And I'm just sitting here in my place thinking, I'm overwhelmed. I have nothing planned for my birthday on Friday. And I was like almost in tears. And Priscilla, my daughter, came in. She's like, Mom, we can do it. I'll help you. We'll get this place whipped into shape if somebody comes over. And it just made the world of difference to have a person.
So sweet. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Oh, and happy birthday.
You. Well, thank you. And if I was having a big party, I'm down here in Huntington Beach now. I don't know if you know that I moved down here, Tina.
Wow. No, I think you did mention it, and I think in a quick little thing. But no, I do like it. That we'll have to talk about. I love it. That. We'll have to catch up.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. So if I was having a big party, of course I would invite you. I literally have two. They're actually Playmates down here that I am friends with, Echo Johnson and Shauna Sand, and they're going to meet me on the beach. They're going to meet me for dinner. We got it all planned now. So, hey, got it done. Done.
That's wonderful. Good for you. That's great.
Yes.
And a couple of great girls to have fun with, too.
Yeah, so sweet. They're totally great, totally cool. So, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about your husband, because you know how we've all had our dreams, and it just was so strange. He's not a conductor, but he's a composer of music. I love music so much. I love that. Are you able to go to special music events with him? Like, what, do you have any perks with that?
Well, the last thing that we went to, which was so nice. So my husband he's very interesting. He has worked for a lot of different people. And so one of the people that he worked for years ago was Dolly Parton. And so right now, if you go on Netflix and you watch Dolly Parton's Heartstrings, he composed the music for those different. There's eight or 10 different movies on that, and he did the music for those. You'll see his music says composer Velton Ray Bunch, and he's old school in terms of he still goes into the studio with an orchestra that he wrote the music. He conducts the orchestra. They record it, and Dolly came in. So of course I got to meet her. And they ask her, well, what do you think about this or that? And she goes, talk to Velton Ray. She always, refers to him. So they have a very similar background, and that both of them grew up very religious with a church background, growing up in the church. And so that's why she also trusts him to do the music for her show.
I love that.
So Netflix people, and you can watch that and listen to his music in the background of each show.
I love it. She's one of my favorites. And he also, didn't he win the Emmy for something that he wrote for Star Trek?
Correct. Yeah, he worked on Star Trek, the one with Scott Bakula. He worked on that. He won an Emmy for a piece called Similitude that he did for one of the episodes. And he also worked on Quantum Leap and, just a slew of shows over the years.
Oh, that's wonderful. I just wanted to touch upon that because I got a lot of great facts on your Wikipedia. But you know what? They need to update that on yours and mine, I've noticed, because it doesn't even say anything about your college. It ends with where you graduated from, high school. I'm wondering how we can update our Wikipedias because there's so much more that we need to add.
Sometimes I wonder who even writes that stuff to begin with, because I sure didn't, and I'm sure you didn't write yours. It's like, who are these people? And they have not all of the information is accurate. I'll just give you that. Not everything on there is accurate, or it doesn't contain everything that it should. So
That's
I'm with
true.
you.
So
check that out and go in there.
Okay. Where do you want people to find you? Are you on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter? What do you enjoy most?
Instagram. I do not do Facebook. I'm not on Facebook at all, and I haven't been. I am on Instagram as TBunch630. T for Tina, Bunch, BUNCH 630. 630 is my birthday. So TBunch630 on Instagram, and people can find me. I have a podcast with my good friend Chris called Dating Intelligence, the podcast. You can find us on Apple and Spotify. And we
Did
advertise
you say Dating
also,
Intelligence? I'm sorry to
Dating
interrupt. Did you say
Dating
Intelligence?
Dating Intelligence. So it's all about relationships, and we give relationship advice. Just not just romantic or married relationships, but all kinds of friendships, all different kinds of relationships. And we're quite good and quite funny at it, if I may say so myself.
Wow, I had no idea. Did you know, Johnny, that she was a host of a podcast?
Yes, I do.
Oh, I had no idea, Tina. Oh, my God.
Yes.
Thank goodness I'm asking these questions. Wow. Okay, everybody. You know where to find her. Listen to her podcast, for heaven's sake.
Yes,
that's amazing.
So listen to our podcast, you guys, or go to my Instagram and instant message me anytime.
TBunch630. And, of course, I've been following you. Mm-hmm. I want to ask you, though, since we were talking about your husband and Dolly Parton, was there a favorite celebrity that you worked with?
A favorite celebrity? God, I'm trying to think. I interviewed so many people over the years. I was very fortunate because, like you mentioned, I also did a lot of the parties up at the mansion live streaming. So I got to interview over the years, and I got to do a lot of movie junkets. So I got to interview Harrison Ford and Priscilla Presley and Red Hot Chili Peppers and T. And I could go on and on and on. And I'm trying to remember anybody that particularly stands out to me. There were so many. You know who was super nice was Neil Patrick Harris.
Yeah.
Remember Neil Patrick Harris? And he's all over TV. He's got all his shows, and he's such a nice guy.
Seems like he would be.
He was so incredibly nice. But I can't think of anybody like offhand. I should have thought about that. But
that really stands out.
Nice people. Yeah, it did. He was so gracious. And I also, I did a Tales from the Crypt years ago with Tony Goldwyn and Beau Bridges. And those guys were so nice. Oh, and Woody Harrelson. I got to be on Cheers years ago. Woody Harrelson was the nicest guy. Those women on the show were such bitches, I hate to say. They were so nice. He was beyond nice.
That is cool to hear. I like that. Yeah, because you never know. We work with the celebrities, Tina. We work with them, and a lot of people ask me, what were they like? And some are just like you think they're going to be, and some are definitely opposite of what you think they're going to be. So it's kind of interesting to the people who don't work with celebrities out there.
Absolutely. It's funny, and also like my stepdaughter and my daughter-in-law are both in the industry, so I always get to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly of things. But you're right, and it's interesting that couple of minute little interaction that you might have with somebody, or in like our case, we might have had to work with someone for a whole day. It is interesting, and it's not always who you think is going to be nice.
That's so very true. Well, I want to know about one more thing, unless Johnny has some questions. Think about your questions, Johnny. I wanted to ask you, what was your relationship with Hugh Hefner?
You know, Johnny and I talked a little bit about that. You know what? Honestly, Barbara, I wasn't really around him that much. I mean, the interaction I had with him was always great, but I was married, and then when I was working, so I didn't really hang out with him. And then, of course, I was around as you during the time when he was married, and then we went through all the girlfriends. So I didn't have that much interaction with him. I do remember being around, like, when he dated Brandy Roderick and Tina Jordan and those girls, and they were the nicest, loveliest people. They were just, I loved hanging out with them. And I would work out with them in the gym and that kind of thing. But I never really was around Hef that much. And I think I was always just kind of worried because he always did have a girlfriend, and I never wanted anybody to think that I was going around him in hopes of being a girlfriend. You know what I mean? I never wanted anybody to feel like I was in competition with them or I was vying for his attention. So I kind of just kept my distance. Yeah.
Well, if you weren't attracted to him, he was much older than us, and if you were not attracted to him, there would be no reason. I mean, A, you didn't have to sleep with Hef to become a playmate. And B, we already were playmates and we had our life going. And my relationship was very similar. And I think most of the girls from the 90s were similar to us, where, you know, he'd be roaming around his house and we'd be roaming around his house too. And we'd say hi. And he, you know, a couple of times said something nice and special to me. But that's about it. And, you know, we didn't date him. We just didn't. So,
yeah, contrary to popular belief, not every girl dated him, and no, you did not have to sleep with him. So, you know, I think that's a fallacy that kind of, you know, maybe that's just because that's every guy's dream, and he just wants to think that Hef did that with everyone, but that is not the case.
No, that's not the case. And were you close with Marilyn Grabowski? I loved Marilyn.
You know, I was not close to her, and I probably don't have as much of a fond memory of her as maybe you do. But then again, in my year, I also had Pamela Anderson, and she was really the focus of Marilyn's attention.
That's true, but she did not even win Playmate of the Year. Lisa Matthews did. I think it was the all-American thing. It was very political. Decisions were made for odd reasons, and I don't think that anybody should ever think that they're not the best Playmates because they didn't get Playmate of the Year in their time. There could be reasons. There was the war going on at that time. We were all signing photos for
Desert Storm.
I think it was Desert Storm. And she was the All-American with the flag, and they just went with the most All-American type look. And so that's how that went down. I just felt so honored to just be a Playboy Playmate of the Month. I never even knew that there was a Playmate of the Year when I even submitted my photos.
Right. And, you know, it was I think there were always political reasons for why somebody got that title, I think. You know, it wasn't
just
always
another reason to make money.
The prettiest, or it was. You know what? Really got that girl. Yeah, it was the money, and it was just more promotions. And hey, I'm not gonna lie, who doesn't like a nice little title like that, right? But but yeah, it's you know, usually there are different reasons for not everybody gets it for the reasons that people think.
Right. And what do you think about Playboy going completely digital now and the Playmate now? What is going through their mind, do you think? Do they wonder about the olden days from the 80s and 90s or even 70s? Do they wonder? Do they feel like cheated because they didn't really get that experience? What do you think is going through their minds?
To be honest with you, I kind of wonder. I feel like maybe we're a little out of the loop and understanding all of that. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of have seen some of the newer girls, and I'm a little, in some ways, I'm a little baffled. I don't get really I don't know who's choosing the girls these days. They certainly aren't, again, the girls like I remember back in the day, even the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, they don't really look like the girls next door. But then again, I know that we are in a different time, in a different era. Mm-hmm. The standards of beauty have changed. I think the culture has changed. What we considered, a sign of beauty back then is not what it is not the same today. So, I don't want to sound like an old lady, so I know that definitely times change and beauty ideals change. I think that the magazine, I think it's hard to keep up today. Quite frankly, I'm surprised that the magazine is still around because, again, you can get free content now on the internet. And, the magazine was something that was cutting edge and it was before its time, and I think that our culture has shifted, and I don't know that it really is conducive to keeping the magazine around, even online.
I agree.
I agree. Because it's funny. What I've heard is that they always say, well, Playboy is dying because you have porn now. But the difference is, I've interacted with women who are porn stars, and I've interacted with women who are Playmates, and the Playmates are so much more fun to talk to, because this is what happens. I mean, it's like the porn stars just flat out won't tell you about who they are, and it's like well, what'd you do today? Well, they talk about their phone. They're talking about they make it sound like they lay around in lingerie all the time, whereas a Playmate's life, is like you've got kids, you've got jobs, you've got some of you, that's more relatable because that's the way the world works. Yeah, it's right. It's much more relatable. It's more relatable to say, well, what did you do today? Well, I was in my car and I got a car accident today, and then I was cleaning my dog's rear end because he got sick, and then that's more relatable. Is some lady who says that, what did you do today? Well, I got home in my lingerie and then I wandered around the house. Wait, no, you didn't.
I got my toy chest out.
Yeah, just be realistic.
Right. I love hearing that because still we're the girls next door.
Right. And it is a different time. And, and I do feel for these girls today. They don't know anything any different, but we were in a different time, a special time that, all the things we used to do, all the Las Vegas shows, and, we used to go to Atlantic City, Vegas.
Mm-hmm. That's where I met Donald Trump.
Yeah, all over the world, right? And I'm sure that those opportunities are not the same, but maybe they're different because of technology. Maybe they're getting opportunities to do things that we don't really know because we're not there.
Yes. And I'm going to find the latest one. Johnny's working on the latest Playmate, and we're going to pick her brain about how it is now.
That's true.
Yeah, we are. And that's
going
to be interesting.
August 2020. We're waiting to hear back from her. Yes.
Okay, great. That'll be fun, and that'll be interesting.
That'll be interesting. Yeah.
I mean, I love interviewing my friends and my close Playmate friends, and that's been wonderful. But I have met a couple of new ones where I only met them just now coming onto the show. And they, like Johnny got Christine Smith. I never had met her. So we're getting there. We are going to interview this latest one, and I'm going to pick her brain about all of that because I find it so interesting. I want to know what they think about us, Tina. I want to know what's in their brain. If they even care, think about it. Do they not? What's it like? I know that they get about 40 or 50,000 followers the minute they hit the stands, which is not the stands anymore. It's when they hit the internet. They have so they work with that somehow. They work with that.
That's great, and I can't wait for you to. I mean, and you know what? You're in such an enviable position because you do know all of us older girls. You also have lived all of that, but you're also still enough in the industry and inquisitive enough to ask these questions. So I can't wait to hear.
Thanks, and I can't wait to hear your podcast. And do you have guests on your podcast?
You know what? We have not. And it's funny, Chris and I were talking today that we want to do that. We need to do that. So if you would be interested in doing that sometime, we would love to have you.
I would love to talk about relationships.
Oh, great.
I make Johnny do it, Tina. I make Johnny do it. We've had a couple of relationships, maybe 3 or 4 now, right? I love it. We call it love and dating. And we just talk about it, too. Yeah. I'm going to get some ideas from your podcast, though.
Cool.
I love the whole podcast thing. Don't you love it, Tina, because you don't have to do your hair and makeup?
You don't have to. You know what's funny? I had thought about podcasting a couple of years ago, and I thought, I want to do that, but if it involves going out and getting an agent and dealing with all that crap I used to deal with, I don't want to do it. Well, then our local community college here offered a class on podcasting, and I thought, well, I'll go ahead and take it for $100 on a Wednesday night. Sure, I'll check it out. And it's so easy, and you don't have to go out and beat the streets looking for an agent. It doesn't take a lot of money. And, you can be in your own home, and it's fun, and hopefully you have something interesting to say and people want to hear.
I love it. And before we close the show, I wanted to mention that you called in one day when we were doing Psychic Night, and you had some revelations. Tell us about the revelations. Tell us about that, because we love having the psychics on our show. We have a regular every Friday now, and people love it. I know girls love it so much.
It is crazy. It was so, especially because at the time I spoke with her, we lost a very close friend of ours to COVID, and of course I've had to have my dog put down, and it's just all this bad stuff was kind of going on. And that same day, I was going through my closet getting rid of some stuff, and I have a bunch of my grandmother's jewelry, and I put on my grandmother's necklace, and so anyway, I was just having not a great day. And the first thing she says to me online was, does the name Mary mean anything to you? And Mary was my grandmother's name. And wow. My grandmother's necklace I had put on that day. It was, and she's like, you're going through a really hard time. And I'm like, oh my God. And I started, of course, crying. So I
I remember.
It just all hit me. And, it was really, it's funny how she just touched on everything that was going on at that time. And she goes, your grandmother's with you, and she just wants you to know that, and your husband is probably going through a hard time. And I'm like, oh my God, because it was my husband's really close friend that had passed away. So she really hit on all the moments I was going through that day. It was crazy.
I'm so glad we were able to help you with that. I really believe
and especially I want people to know I'm not a big, huge person on that stuff. So it's not like I'm some, pushover on all of this. So I was really,
Me neither. I mean, there was just too much that was, it's not coincidental. I mean, it's just, there were too many things that she said that were not, it wasn't
it's not just one
anybody
thing.
Could say
it was
that.
Multiple. Yeah.
A name and all that. Oh, that's so cool. Well, do you know we are doing a psychic day where we're going to have a medium come on and channel Hugh Hefner?
Oh, God, that'll be great.
We're going to do. Yeah. Do you want to take part in that?
Sure.
Okay. Johnny, we have another. We're going to have
this is going to be video.
Come on. This is going to be video. Okay, we'll give her the details about that later.
You guys will give me all the details.
Yes. We are closing the show now, but we'll give you the details. We're going to give you the details, but we did this already before with 8 Playmates for Alexis Vogel, who passed away, which was our Playboy makeup artist. Did you work with her?
Yeah. I worked with her like a few times. I can't, but it was always in like such large group settings that I didn't get to, it was, like 20 or 30 of us. And so it was, always fast, but that must have been interesting.
Yes, because the girls that she did the whole centerfold thing and the whole layout thing with, we got really close to her. She was an amazing friend, and then I realized she touched so many, everyone. So that was a really intense show, and that was cool. So we're going to do that. We'll let you know when, and that's going to be great. But this hour, getting to know all of your details and stories was amazing.
Well, thank you. It was so nice talking to you. This was so much fun, and it's always so nice to relive these memories because sometimes you want to talk about these things, but you don't. It's nice to talk about it with somebody who understands it, and obviously having listeners that want to hear it. So, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, everybody, listeners, if you want to contact Tina, go to Bunch630 on IG and start following her. And please listen to this show and all of our other shows on our YouTube channel, this show will be up in about 1 hour, and you can share it, Tina. You can listen to it again, and we hope that you'll share it with all of your friends on social media. And it's been wonderful. Yeah.
And thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Johnny, anything else? Any last words with this iconic Playmate, Tina Bockrath? Tina Bockrath.
Well, I'm looking forward to the 1st of September. This is going to be the 1st of September is when it's going to be. So this is going to be interesting.
Oh. Yes, where we're going to have a medium, and we'll see what Hef wants to say. He probably won't have much to say to me. I never dated him either.
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah. We're going to have his ex-girlfriend Brandy on, though.
That's great. That'll be, well, he'll definitely. You know what, I remember the one time I was up there having dinner with her, and they were already broke up, and he hurried up and jumped out of his chair when she came in, and he pulled her chair out for her. Oh. They were so cute together, even after they were broken up, and they were all still so sweet. So I'm sure he will have something to say.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. She's wonderful. He is so sweet. And so this has been wonderful. We're so glad to hear that the whole Playboy experience was wonderful for you. Another great Playboy Playmate interview. So it goes to show you Playboy was a good decision.
Yes, it was. All right, guys.
Well,
with that said, good night, everybody. Have a great
night.
Good night, Tina. Good night, Barbara.
Good night, Tina. Good night, Johnny.
Bye-bye.
Bye.